And welcome back. As I stated before, and I'll just say it again, the reason why you're getting multiple who would wins in the same day when it's not the week of is because right now I'm out of work. That means I have more time, and I'm nearly at the end of my who would win book of notes, suggestions. And then I'm going to literally be able to cycle back to the front of the book again for the first time ever, actually. So I'm actually kind of stoked about that. I'm psyched and stoked. I'm psyched, or I'm stoked. No, what was it? I said I'm stoked. That's what I was going to say. I'm stoked. So I figured until I find some steady work again, I will just continue to every day that I do a who would win, add an extra who would win on there, which means you're going to get double your trouble on the next week because that means every day there's two who wins, not including the speed round. Oh my god! But anyway, from Superman 1978, we have the question of who wins in a fight, Scorpion or Darth Maul. Two edgy characters, fan favorites in their respective franchises, and skilled warriors to boot. Scorpion is, I believe his original name was Hanzo, wasn't it? Oh god, Scorpion. Uh, let's see. Come back here, Scorpion. I gotta remember just so I can show that I'm not. I can't remember what his clan's name. It Resident Ninja, Mortal Kombat, NASCAR. He's one of the few original characters. Okay, where his original name was Hanzo. I do know that. Now I could be wrong with that though. I could be dead wrong. Yeah, it was Hanzo Hasashi. Yeah, I was right about that. Now he was originally a member of what was his clan initially? He was member of Shirai Ryu. That was it. He was a former member of Shirai Ryu. He, at least in the movie, was actually killed by Sub-Zero. And actually, yeah, that does seem to be it does seem to be he's always had a rivalry with the Lin Kuei, and Sub-Zero has always been his rival. I don't know if he was straight out killed by Bihan in the original like lore, but they have always had a very fierce rivalry. He is a skilled master martial artist with many different forms of martial arts under his belt. But that being said, in terms of like straight martial arts that he knows, he is among other things a skilled user in, and what's the name of the technique, the style of fighting? Come here, fireball. Nope. What's the name of the actual technique that uses his kunai, his rope kunai? Oh god, what is the name of the fighting style he uses? I know it's got an actual name to it. It's an actual form of combat. I just don't remember. Either way, he's skilled in this style of combat. Even beforehand, he was always skilled and dangerous with the kunai. But after he died and came back, more or less kind of like as called a nether spawn? Is that what it's called? He's a specter, whatever, from the netherworld, from hell, more or less. He became insanely powerful. Again, he's still got all his martial arts experience and training under his belt, but now he can literally just launch the kunai on a chain from his wrist for supernatural style, breathe hellfire, summon weapons just use of magic, which include things like his kunai, but also spears, axes. Very skilled with the blade too. Various weapon. Oh wait a minute. Quickly called Kyoku Shu is the ancient representing Scorpion Sting. Oh, hold on. His most occurring weapon is the spear. A kunai attached to a sturdy rope, colloquially called Kyokuetsu Shoge. Representing the Scorpion Stinger. That might not be the fighting style, but still, that's what it's called overall. Because he's not human, he can't be killed in the same way he was initially in his life. Like he can take much more fatal damage than he normally would be able to. But he could still be, his physical body can still be put down, but he would just go back to hell afterwards. And if you're fighting him in hell, well, he constantly goes stronger while he's in the netherworld. I keep saying hell and netherworld. They're more or less interchangeable here. So he immediately becomes a problem if they're fighting in that world. But if you don't have a means to attack, say, his soul, then it's just going to be a battle of attrition until he ultimately wins. Or until you ultimately figure out a way to drag him back out of hell. He is still one of the most dangerous of the Mortal Kombat fighters, and an all-around fan favorite. Darth Maul, thank God they gave Maul more to do than Phantom Menace. I can say that. Darth Maul, who I don't believe we ever know Darth Maul's real name. He's only ever known as either Maul or Darth Maul. Was the Sith apprentice to Darth Sidious. He was trained as a Sith assassin, although he ultimately, what's the best way to put it? He was never truly designed to be his next apprentice because Sidious was still under the apprenticeship at that point of Plagueis at that point, and there's only the rule of two. Now, mind you, Plagueis probably assumed that at one point he was going to try to usurp him, overthrow him. But either way, Maul was considered disposable if need be. Same with Tyrannus. Same with Dooku. But make no mistake, Maul was no slouch at all, and even to his dying day was still a ferocious opponent. He was a very skilled user of the Force, but less so than others. For example, despite being Sith, he never used Force Lightning. Maybe because he couldn't, or maybe it just didn't fit his style. Probably was more he couldn't. He was more just capable of Force. He used the Force more physically than someone like, say, Sidious. He used it to augment his physicality, his speed, strength, agility. He used it to recover if he needed to. He also used it for, obviously, the Force push, Force choke, Force, all those. But we never see him use things like Two Dominus, which was the ability to absorb energy, especially from things like lightsabers. And then later in life, he unfortunately lost the lower half of his body, but then gained a cybernetic legs after that. With that said, though, it's not like he was a what's the best way to put it? It's not like he was completely what's the term I'm looking for here? It's not like he was completely down and out without his legs, because he survived being cut in half. His pure hatred and will kept him alive, even though he was cut in half, lost all his reproductive organs, probably a good chunk of his lower intestine. So he was still able to stay alive even with half of his body. It was and after that his mind was brought back to him through, I believe it was Mother Townsend and Savage Opressed. Then he got these weird kind of spidery mechanic legs, not spidery, but more kind of grievously looking mechanical legs, and then got fit for a much better version of them. But he was always a tough SOB, and beyond that, I mean, Maul has always been one of the best duelists and just straight out fighters in the Star Wars, at least modern canon. Maybe not in, like, say, Legends, because in Legends, Maul versus someone like Revan would be insanely interesting to watch. But he was a master of the lightsaber, including being able to effectively use a dual-bladed lightsaber, a double-bladed lightsaber, which is actually not an easy thing to do, because if you're not paying attention, you thrust too much, like one way with the blade, you're going to hit yourself with the blade. So the fact that he could wield it as effortlessly as he could is nothing short of impressive. Nothing short of impressive. But beyond that, he was also just a skilled single-bladed wielder. And he could dual wield without any difficulty whatsoever. Beyond that, he was trained in Teras, I believe it's called Teras Kasi, which is a martial art designed to fight against Force users. And so you had a Sith who was trained literally to fight against Jedi and kill them dead. Like, Maul was a fierce fighter. He was skilled enough to actually go toe-to-toe for a little while with Darth Sidious himself in just straight blades. And in fact, if you watch that fight from Clone Wars, he does press Sidious blade to blade for a little, and then Sidious decides, all right, I'm going to use the Force now, and then Maul's effed. But in just straight blades, he could actually rival Sidious, and Sidious is a master of the blade. So he was no joke in terms of combat. And sadly, then he met his end at by Kenobi, and it was very sad and tragic. He will avenge us. So, in a duel against these two guys who were basically fueled by hate to come back from the dead, more or less. Who wins in the fight? Let's get the hell thing out of the way first, or another world thing out of the way first. if the fight takes place there, Maul can only do so much. Unfortunately, he doesn't have force abilities that can target the soul. If he did, it would actually be a very interesting debate whether or not it would work against Scorpion. But the fact is, he doesn't have any known force abilities that target the soul. There are force abilities that can attack the soul, too. There are. But Maul just doesn't possess any of them, to the best of my knowledge. So it's kind of an irrelevant question who wins in hell, because they're just eventually Scorpion's just going to get too strong for Maul to deal with. Or Maul has to figure out a way to get out of there and just kind of like nopes out somehow. If the fight takes place in the real world, however, Maul's already got enhanced senses thanks to the Force and a great battle sense already. So Hanzo is not going to be able to sneak up on Maul. If he tries to kunai him, Maul's just going to just grab it or slice it. And to be fair, it's supernatural at this point, so it'll just grow back. But yeah, this fight actually is not in Scorpion's favor. Yes, he can fire Hellfire out. Yes, he has a lot of range abilities with that. But that doesn't mean that's really the only edge he has. Because with the Force alone, Maul has telekinesis, and pretty strong telekinesis, to be able to just lift the Scorpion up and just kind of, he can just do that. He can stop his kunai mid-air and just do whatever he wants with them. He's got better battle sense because the Force also flows through him. Skill-wise in hand-to-hand combat, I'd argue these guys might be about even. Maul is a insanely strong hand-to-hand fighter. And he's trained to fight against individuals with more supernatural-esque abilities, like Force users. But Hanzo has decades of battle experience under his belt, and that just continues to grow as he fights in the Mortal Kombat fights, because he's not human. He can't die the traditional way, so he just keeps coming back and keeps learning more. So I'd say it's probably a wash between hand-to-hand combat with them. They're probably about even. Physically speaking, they're also about even. Zabraks, which is what Maul's race is, are just physically stronger and have a natural physicality over normal humans, and a higher pain threshold, definitely, than normal humans. But Hanzo is also, enhanced, being basically a specter, a non-human entity. So they're pretty equal there too. But when you can break down their weapons, there's no contest. There's nothing in Hanzo's arsenal that matches a lightsaber. His kunai just gets sliced immediately. Even if he enhances his weaponry with Hellfire, it's not like you're enhancing it with an energy that can combat a lightsaber. Like, lightsabers can just traverse through fire. They just move. It's not like you hit fire and just go, what? No, that's not how that works. Even though fire is a state of plasma, similar to the lightsaber is also got a magnetic field around it that keeps the plasma in, a cylindrical form. So, yeah, there's nothing that says Hellfire would block a lightsaber. There just isn't. And if anything, we've seen more than enough evidence to, even though Hellfire is like burns hotter and even burns your soul and all that stuff, it still behaves like fire. So, yeah, the Hellfire's not going to stop it. So he's just going to slice through any weapon he's got, and then all he has to do is hit Scorpion a couple times, and Scorpion goes down. So, really, it comes down to the fact that the Force gives him far greater versatility than Scorpion has. He's at minimum just as skilled, if not more skilled, in hand-to-hand combat. Matches him physically, and he's got just a far superior weapon. Hell, his dual-bladed lightsaber can be cut in half and used independently. So even if Scorpion were to get an upper hand, just be like, Maul would be like, just slice him. I mean, a lot of Jedi and Sith have near light speed level reflexes on their own. So on a pure speed of reflex argument, Maul still probably has an edge over Scorpion in that sense. So again, it wouldn't be a shutout fight. Similar to like the last fight I just did. It wouldn't be, I think, a shutout fight. Scorpion is still immensely skilled and still has supernatural abilities with Hellfire, his kunai, summoning weapons, that it would still put Maul on edge, and Maul would have to be aware of his surroundings. But it's not a big enough issue, I think, that Maul would just be on the losing end of the fight. So my money goes on Darth Maul. Who do you got? Let me know. Would like to see this one for Super Tower Beatdowns. I think that would have been cool. Until then, though, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.